8 years after the zombie outbreak, a young zombie spends his days wandering around an airport in the United States. After being infected, he no longer remembers his past life, his family, or even his name, knowing only that it began with the letter R. Since then, R has been living with other zombies, including the so-called bony species, who have lost their skin and are much more aggressive. What's more, the zombies can't communicate, walk slowly, and tend to go out in groups to feed on the remaining humans. At this point, R, his friend M, and other zombies set off for the city, where a resistance group lives inside a base, surrounded by walls. The place is led by Colonel Grigio, who has just sent a group, including his daughter Julie and her boyfriend Perry, to get supplies. They head towards a pharmacy and collect as much medicine as they can to take to the survivors. However, R and the other zombies smell them and invade the place, with the group trying to defend themselves against the zombies. However, since zombies can only be eliminated by shooting them in the head, the group is gradually eliminated by the creatures. Even so, Julie continues to resist and, upon seeing the young woman's beauty, R falls in love with her at first sight. The confrontation continues and the zombies end up taking the upper hand, but Perry insists on facing them and shoots R in the arm. Enraged, the zombie pulls his legs, knocks him to the ground, and is initially distracted by the watch on Perry's wrist. Even so, his hunger speaks louder and he bites the young man's arm, who soon becomes infected too. However, as an act of mercy, R eliminates Perry before he turns and also takes parts of his brain, because by eating it, zombies become able to experience the victim's memories. As he eats a piece, R sees parts of Perry's past, when he first met Julie and some of the moments they spent together. After that, the zombie goes after the young woman, who together with her friend Nora, are the only survivors of the confrontation. With no ammunition in her gun, Julie throws a knife at R's body, but it doesn't do any damage. The zombie then approaches the girl, but instead of biting her, R manages to say a few words and asks her to follow him, as she will be safe by his side. With no other choice, the young woman follows the pack of zombies, while Nora watches in hiding, unable to help her friend. To make sure the other zombies don't attack her, R smears blood on her face and takes her to his hideout, which is inside an airplane at the airport. Once there, Julie cries for the loss of Perry and for being surrounded by dozens of zombies, with no way to escape. Even so, R says he won't bite her and leaves her alone on the plane so that she can feel more at ease. Minutes later, the zombie hides in a car and eats more pieces of Perry's brain, which he has kept in his pocket. He does this to learn more about their relationship and find a way to get closer to her. Throughout the memories, R discovers that Julie has a difficult relationship with her father, as he became obsessed with creating the wall after the loss of his wife. Along with this, he sees a tragic memory of Perry, when the young man found his father transformed into a zombie and Julie had to eliminate him in front of him. After discovering these details, R returns to the plane and tries to calm Julie down by putting a song he likes on the record player. The young woman is surprised to see a zombie acting civilized and asks who he is and why he saved her. R doesn't answer and just settles into the airplane seat, while he relaxes next to her to listen to the song together. The next day, Julie wakes up and R is next to her just watching, without showing any intention of attacking her. Still, the young woman insists that she wants to go home, but the zombie warns her that it's dangerous to leave now, as the other zombies won't let her pass. She then says she needs to eat something and R goes to get some food, but as soon as he gets off the plane, Julie flees in hiding and runs down the runway. Unluckily for her, the place is infested with zombies and there's no way of getting through without being noticed. Seconds later, R appears behind her and, to protect her, he smears blood on her face again and asks her to pretend to be a zombie so that they can pass safely. The plan works and the two find a canned fruit salad and return to the plane. There, R also hands the girl a drink and she thanks him, saying she's even more surprised to see a zombie that can communicate. However, she insists that she needs to go home, but R convinces her to stay for a few days, until the other zombies forget about her. In fact, it's all just an excuse to keep Julie around and, even against her will, she agrees to stay. Now, they need to think of a way to distract themselves during these days, so they both take a convertible car and drive around the airstrip. Julie ends up having fun and even teaches R to drive, although the zombie ends up hitting a car in the parking lot. Later, they return to the plane and Julie takes a look at all the items that R has collected over the years. The zombie usually picks up all the items he finds in his searches and, as well as looking through them, the girl also introduces R to the things that the living usually do, such as reading, playing and dancing. Despite the moment of relaxation, Julie later asks about Perry, fearing that he too has become a zombie. She mourns the loss of her boyfriend, without suspecting that the zombie in front of her was responsible for the tragedy. R tries to calm her down, saying that her boyfriend hasn't turned into a zombie, and then changes the subject, putting another record on the record player. Later, the young woman falls asleep, but since R is a zombie, he doesn't feel sleepy and can't dream. Instead, he eats another piece of Perry's brain to see more memories of his past. This time, he experiences the moment when the young man was recruited by Colonel Grigio and his obsession with helping the survivors eliminate the zombies. The memories continue, until R sees the moment when the two confronted each other in the pharmacy. Through Perry's mind, R sees himself as a monster and, feeling guilty about what happened, he throws the piece of brain away. Afterwards, the zombie goes to check on Julie, but the girl has escaped from the plane once again. R runs to find her and sees her inside the airport, facing a group of zombies using a lawnmower, including his friend M, despite her best efforts. Julie can't cope with the zombies and M is about to bite her. R protects her by punching his friend and pushing the rest of the zombies away. Julie is safe, but she says it's been days and R still hasn't kept his promise to let her go. In the middle of the conversation, M stands up and tells R to devour the girl, because she's alive and that's what zombies should do. However, he refuses and the situation only gets more tense when one of the bony zombies appears on the scene. Knowing that there is no way to confront the creature, R rushes with Julie towards the airport parking lot, only to find more bony ones surrounding the place. Then, in a surprise attack, M appears with a trolley and runs over the zombies. He then apologizes for the way he acted and decides to help R take Julie out of the airport. The three of them then head towards the garage to get the car, but more zombies stand in front of the vehicle. At that moment, Julie and R hold hands and walk towards the zombie who, faced with this unexpected gesture, let them pass. After that, the two set off in the car towards the highway in heavy rain. Julie then takes them to her old house so that they can spend the night safely, where she finds her old Polaroid camera. The two take the opportunity to record everything in photos and decide to rest the rest of the night in their room. Meanwhile, at the airport, M and the other zombies walk around until they find a photo of a couple holding hands in a store. At that moment, memories begin to flash through his mind and he remembers when he used to live next to his old companion. Besides him, other zombies start to look at the photo and have the same reaction and, for the first time in years, their hearts start beating again. The moment, however, is interrupted by the bony ones, who begin to sense life in the zombies and threaten to devour them. Back at Julie's house, she and R hear the sound of cars and, when they look out of the window, they find Colonel Grigio, along with other soldiers, looking for her. The girl, however, stays hidden because she knows that her father will eliminate R if he finds him. The night goes on and they both go to sleep, but Julie's clothes are still wet from the rain. She goes to change and this only makes R's heart, lifeless for so long, beat harder again. Afterwards, Julie asks if R really needs to feed on human flesh and he says yes, otherwise he will lose his life again. Even so, the young woman believes that he is different from other zombies and even other human beings, because even though he acted against his instincts, he didn't attack her. In addition, the fact that he keeps objects and memories from the past indicates that, even in his condition, R tries to enjoy life as much as possible. Finally, the girl thanks him once again for saving her life so many times and says that R is a good person. These words weigh heavily on the conscience of the zombie who, unable to hide the truth, reveals to Julie that it was he who eliminated her boyfriend. To prove it, he hands her the watch he took from Perry's arm seconds before biting him. When Julie realizes the sad truth, she reveals that she had already suspected this, but didn't want to believe it, because she ended up getting attached to R. He apologizes for what he did, but the girl just turns the other way and tries to rest. R doesn't feel sleepy, but he tries to sleep for the first time and, to his surprise, he even manages to dream. In his dream, he finds himself in the middle of a huge flowery field, where he meets Julie, Perry and Nora talking about what careers they want to pursue in the future. As soon as R approaches the trio, he realizes that he can speak normally and Julie asks him what he wants to be. The zombie doesn't know the answer and just says that he wants to be close to her, but Perry replies that that won't be possible because Julie will never forgive him for what he did to her. Shortly afterwards, R wakes up from his dream, but realizes that Julie is no longer in bed. He searches everywhere, but all he finds are the Polaroid photos the girl left as a souvenir. Feeling abandoned by her, R makes his way back to the airport, certain that he will never be able to stay with Julie because of his condition. Far from there, the young woman drives her car back to the base, but it runs out of fuel and she is forced to walk the rest of the way. When she reaches the wall, one of the guards stops her until he is sure she hasn't been infected. Using a device in her eyes, the soldier confirms that Julie is not infected and, shortly afterwards, Colonel Grigio appears. The two are happy to meet again, But the young woman can't forget R. Meanwhile, the young zombie continues to walk through the city, trying to forget Julie, but he can't. On the way, it starts raining again and, without understanding why, R feels cold, as if his body is coming back to life. The zombie continues walking and is surprised to see M and other zombies coming towards him. His friend explains that the bony ones are looking for him and Julie, because the union between the two has caused changes in the zombies. M reveals that he is starting to remember moments and sensations from when he was still alive, and the same is happening with the other zombies. R deduces that the zombies are changing, no longer being irrational beings who only think about feeding themselves. R then asks for the group's help so that he can tell Julie, and everyone readily accepts. The gang then heads towards a stadium which, according to Perry's memories, has a passageway that leads into the survivor's base. As he passes through the door, R manages to reach the place and puts on the hood of his jacket so that people don't realize he's a zombie. He does his best not to attack anyone, including some goats that walk towards him. R continues walking and sees his reflection in the glass of a store, showing that his face is getting a little less pale. Finally, thanks to his keen sense of smell, he manages to track down Julie, who is inside a mansion with Nora. There, the two talk about Julie's experience with the zombie and, even though she doesn't want to believe it, she misses it terribly. Nora thinks this is crazy, but realizes that her friend may have fallen in love with a zombie. She then leaves Julie to her thoughts and goes to rest for a while, but the young woman remains pensive and leaves the house to get some air. Seeing the girl outside, R calls out to Julie, who is happy to see him again, but knows that if any of the soldiers find him, he will be eliminated. Seconds later, Nora hears her friend talking to someone and soon discovers it's the zombie she's been talking about. However, they hear the sounds of approaching sirens and Julie takes R into the house before anyone sees them. In the mansion, the young woman hugs the zombie and notices that his body temperature seems to have risen. The three of them then go to the bedroom and R explains that the zombies are undergoing a change, being able to communicate, feel and even dream. All this has happened thanks to Julie, but it has provoked the fury of the bony ones, who are coming after them. Because of this, they need to act quickly and explain to everyone that the zombies and the living can live together, so that they can face this threat. Julie agrees to help, but knows it won't be easy to convince her father. So, in order for them to talk to him, they have to find a way to make R a little more human. With Nora's help, the zombie takes a shower and the girls cover his body in makeup so that his skin is less pale. After a lot of effort, the makeup works and R looks more like a human, leaving Nora and, especially, Julie, very impressed. Now they have to convince the colonel, and they have to do it quickly, because the bunch of bony people have just left the airport and are heading towards the base. Minutes later, Nora, Julie and R make their way to the colonel's camp, but one of the soldiers doesn't allow them in. Nevertheless, the trio invade and Julie meets her father, who is preparing a resistance against the attack of the bony zombies. He fears that all the weaponry will not be enough to stop them, as the enemy is outnumbered. Julie replies that the only way to stop them is with the help of other zombies, as she has seen with her own eyes that they can be cured. As Julie expected, her father thinks this is crazy and says that zombies only want to devour human brains, just as happened to his wife and Perry. He then orders the girl to go home and protect herself inside during the confrontation, but R appears in front of him to prove that Julie told the truth. The colonel asks who he is, but before R can say, he quickly deduces that he is a zombie and points his gun at the young zombie. Julie takes the lead and tells her father not to do it, because the zombies are their only hope of surviving the attack of the bony ones. Even so, the colonel doesn't believe her, and is willing to shoot R in the head and put an end to the matter. However, he is surprised by Nora, who points a gun at him and tells Julie and R to get out of there. The pair run off and R says that he needs to warn his friends inside the stadium before the bony ones break in. Julie agrees to go with him, but soon the base alarm is triggered and the whole place is surrounded by soldiers. The two then make their way to the stadium and there they find dozens of zombies gathered there, including M, ready for battle. However, the stadium is soon invaded by the bony creatures, who break through the glass roof and start attacking the zombies. M sends Julie and R on the run, while they stay in the stadium to stop the monsters. The pair run away and Julie, armed with her pistol, shoots at the bony creatures running towards her. At the same time, the soldiers invade the stadium and try to confront the monsters, but they are more resilient and take out their targets one by one. In the midst of all that chaos, one of the soldiers resists and tries to grab his gun, but the bony creature is walking towards him, about to devour him. Then one of the zombies appears and, using a fire extinguisher, he finishes off the creature and holds out his hand for the soldier to get up. Meanwhile, Julie and R continue to run, until they are stopped by two more bony creatures. The young woman resists, but is disarmed by the creature, which intends to devour her right there. R becomes enraged and uses a public telephone to attack the two monsters, saving Julie's life once again. Soon afterwards, more soldiers arrive at the stadium, but everyone is unmoved when they see the zombies confronting the bony ones to protect them. Even though they don't believe it, the soldiers accept the help and together, zombies and humans fight to defeat a common enemy. Thanks to this, the battle is more evenly balanced, but there are still more bony ones left and Julie and M come across several of them around the stadium. The two try to escape through the door, but the path leads to a huge drop outside the building. Julie believes that this is the end of everything, but R says that he will protect her until the end and, hugging the girl, the zombie throws himself towards a fountain, receiving the full impact of the fall. Thanks to this, Julie is saved and searches for R, who is unconscious underwater. She despairs at the sight of the unresponsive zombie, but after insisting that he wake up, R regains consciousness. Julie is very relieved by this and kisses the young zombie, who returns the gesture, completely abandoning his zombie instinct. After this moment between the two, she notices that R's skin is no longer pale and that his eyes have changed to a normal color. It seems that he is becoming human again, but the moment is interrupted when the Colonel appears and shoots R. He threatens to shoot the zombie in the head, but Julie begs her father to help him, because although they have been infected, it is still possible to bring them back. Then the shot R received in the chest makes him bleed, something that doesn't happen to ordinary zombies. Julie then begs her father to help him, as this is proof that R has managed to come back to life, thanks to their feelings for each other. Faced with this unprecedented event, the Colonel lowers his gun and orders the team to help R treat the wound. He then takes his daughter and the young man home, feeling proud that the young woman has risked herself to prove him wrong. At the same time, the soldiers and their new zombie allies put an end to the rest of the bony creatures, putting an end to the threat once and for all. Days later, the surviving zombies are reintegrated into society, managing to cure themselves of the disease through contact with other people. Little by little, they remember what it's like to live with their fellow human beings and abandon their hunger for human flesh once and for all. As for Julie and R, the two of them are outside the wall together, happy to have given humans and zombies a chance to live in harmony. As they enjoy the day, Julie asks if R has chosen a name and if he has been able to remember his past life. However, he says he's happy to just be called R and that all that matters now is his new life with Julie. And so the two of them watch together as the enormous city wall is destroyed. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.